Welcome to Groundbreakers, ladies and gentlemen. We are live downtown Toronto, Bay and Dundas. As always, I'm really excited to have my next guest here. And those who know the show, they know that we spend our time showcasing the pioneers, the innovators, the groundbreakers, the people that have shaken everything up and if not downright reinvented the wheel, okay? And that's the idea of this show. And from an entrepreneurial perspective. Now, my next guest is not just one of the most popular performers in North America. Now it's North America. It used to be Canada, now it's North America. He's not just one of the most popular performers, but he's also an amazing entrepreneur. So I love interviewing guys like this who combine their performance abilities with their abilities to sell and market themselves in an innovative way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Groundbreakers studio, Boris Cherniak. Boris.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Wow. It's great fun to have you. Now, I gotta say this here properly. So, it's Boris Cherniak, hypnotist, comedian, motivational speaker, bottle washer, makeup artist.
I have many hats that I played with, and as soon as the time comes, I put that hat on.
Yeah, it's great fun to see you. I think it's been, do you remember the first time we met?
It was a long time ago, but it was incredibly memorable.
I certainly didn't have the gray hair.
No, we all get a little bit of gray hair, but you had the talent and the ability to impress people with what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. It's nice of you to say. And I just, I'm going to save it to the end, what you told me after my first performance at your comedy club. But I want to start off at a place where, so you're known to everybody, to millions of people, as the Incredible Boris, an international success story. But I'm going to take you back to the beginning now. It's always a good place to start, right?
Okay.
They say we live our life going forward, but we learn looking backwards, correct?
That is absolutely true. You learn on every mistake that you make, and that mistake actually strengthens you and gets you to move ahead.
Absolutely. So I want to take you back to your early days in Russia, in Moscow. There's something that sparked, something that created a twinkle in your eye for hypnotism, for I think you were, was there a circus nearby?
Right. Oh, as a matter of fact, as a little kid, I lived truly right across the road from the Moscow Circus, which is an actual building. You go and it's magical. You walk in from clowns to trapeze artists to everything else.
Right.
And I was a regular fixture backstage. And the couple clowns that spent the time, you would arrive in the back with flowers, and as a kid, that was something that you would do.
I'm a North American Jew, and I grew up in a circus, basically. Different Jewish cultures, right? Right. So you're living close by the circus.
Living close by, and I would go backstage often, and like I said, bring flowers. And one of the main clowns, whose circus now in Moscow is actually named after Yuri Nikulin, he took a liking to me, and I would hang out backstage at that point in time. And let me actually go a little bit further back, even more. As a kid, about 4 or 5 years old, my parents wanted to teach me music, and they took me to a music school.
Okay.
The music school gave me all of the different tests that they would, and what do you want to play? I want to play guitar. Well, we don't offer enough guitar lessons here, so he doesn't have any talent. That was basically what my dad came away with, and how is it possible my kid has no talent? I don't believe that's something that I can deal with. And a friend of his, a client actually, was a flute teacher.
A flute?
A flute. So
it sounded like you were saying flu teacher.
Flute, yes.
And I was thinking, how do you teach somebody how to have, 104 fever?
Right, no, a flute. And he was talking to him. They told me my son doesn't have any talent. Can you come and check it out? And the guy came out, looked at my abilities I diligently followed what he was telling me, followed this rhythm and sing this back to me. he decided I have a lot of talent, but I'll teach him. I'll teach him for free just because he has the talent. So I became a child prodigy. So that combined with everything else.
A prodigy at
learning how to play flute. But I was tiny.
So you all right? So you're a professional musician at what age?
At age of 6.
When did the spark hit you that you said it's going to be hypnotism?
I read a book. I'm an avid reader, still do. When I travel, I even read on my phone when I travel instead of carrying books whenever I can't bring one along. So at that point in time, I read a book which I picked up in the library as a teenager. The book was called The Search for Bridie Murphy.
Right.
It's about a lay hypnotist who hypnotizes a lady, takes her past her birth.
Right.
And she becomes another character, calls herself Bridie Murphy, and describes places, events, and all of the things that are around her, names. It's on tape. So the guy
when
goes
you say takes her, I just want people to understand what you're saying here. Be clear. So it takes her beyond her birth.
Beyond her birth. So basically turns clocks backwards.
Meaning pre-birth. Meaning how many years?
Nobody's quite sure at that point in time.
What's
the time?
Are we talking about previous lives here?
Previous lives,
Previous
exactly.
lives, very interesting.
So that sent me on reading that book, and the book just ends where the hypnotist verifies the facts that the lady presents, and they happen to be true.
Okay. So, from my perspective, I've watched you over the years become, a popular local comedian. A local entertainer, and just explode into this very, very popular international entertainer, and taking nothing away from the originality of your act. I find you to be a brilliant entrepreneur, and I hope you take that as a compliment.
I take that as a compliment.
I hope you do, because that's really the impetus of the show. That's the focus of the show. It's a show about entrepreneurship, and in Canada, you don't become a successful entertainer, correct me if I'm wrong, without the ability to sell and market yourself.
And not taking no for an answer.
No, it's persistence, but entrepreneurship plays a major part. I want to talk to you about that. So, what do you think, as a comedian / entrepreneur, what do you think is the biggest obstacle one is up against here in Canada?
Well, Canadians really are sort of limited, even initially financially, just because drawing from even south of the border, where the numbers game, there's only 30 million people in Canada, 300 million in the U.S., there's not that many people to play to. So we start off small, and as I guess the train keeps rolling, you start pushing your boundaries and going into other markets, where you're able to deliver a little bit more. Actually, believe it or not, I started off in Toronto, and most people didn't really know that I existed until I went away and came back with other people knowing who I am.
You went away to?
Went away from performing internationally to performing in U.S.
Right.
Where we're even limited from visa standpoints, where somebody has to vouch for you that yes, he's a good enough performer. That's not taking away a job from an American, to us bringing it back to Canada.
So what was, Boris, what was your greatest challenge selling and marketing your comedy act here in Canada?
Well,
I know it's a tough question, but what stands out in your mind as kind of that singular hump, that obstacle, that thing that you're always hitting, because it's
somebody believing you're good enough. Because there were times when, no matter what the money was, I would pick up a phone. I'm really good. Please trust me.
So you're calling. Okay,
chance.
so you're picking up the phones. You're working the phones. And by the way, you're legendary for working the phones. Do you know that?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, you're legendary for working the phones and for being on that blower and the persistence and the fortitude and so I just want the audience to understand your process. You're picking up the phone. Hey, it's Boris. Who's Boris? What do you do? How do you? What's
earlier on, and it's actually an amazing story. you cannot represent yourself as good as somebody can represent you.
Absolutely.
So I would pick up a phone and call myself somebody else. And represented me to the person on the phone. The problem became that when I arrived, the guy sounded exactly the same as the person on the phone. And it didn't last very long.
So who was the guy that was initially representing you? What was his name?
My name was Robert Clark.
Robert Clark.
And
did you sound different?
I tried to.
Like give us a Robert Clark, or was it a little bit different accent, different voice, deeper voice?
No, there's the same guy on the phone with. I have an accent.
Give us the Robert Clark. Was it more Russian?
It would actually be a different name on the phone. And hi, how are you? This is Robert Clark, and a little bit more on that sense. But it didn't, like I said, it didn't last very long. But somebody who represented you, I became literally my own agent at that point in time, trying to sell myself. The actually turning point in my career, and I was starting to make headway, is the ability to reinvest in yourself, and I can't say that enough.
Okay, so that's a great concept. When we're talking about, and sorry to interrupt you, but I have to bring it to a halt there. We're talking now about entrepreneurship, and we're talking to a performer / entrepreneur, and he's now mentioning the concept of reinvesting in yourself. Now we're assuming that you've gotten to a point where you've accumulated enough finances, enough security, financial security, to start to put the money back, and which one needs to do to go to the next level, correct?
Or in my case, it was a chance thing that happened to me. I bought a van in which I could travel and bring sound system.
Yeah, because I was wondering what does reinvest mean?
Reinvest, this is exactly what happened. I paid $23,000 for the van at the time, which was my prized possession. It was amazing, and I was getting shows. I was able to travel.
What do you mean the van? Did it say the Incredible Boris?
No, it didn't. Not at that point in time, nor ever.
You're talking about just transportation?
Transportation to get to the shows.
To get to the shows. So what were you doing before that?
Before that, was a little car that was always beat up, and you traveled for a long time, and hopefully...
You traveled and hoped that it didn't conk out on the highway.
Right, exactly. And somebody would, you put the gas in the car, and if by any chance you don't have enough money, you hope somebody will feed you when you arrive, and they like the show.
So I want to take you to the moment now, and I think it was 2011 when you went to Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a pretty scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty scary.
It was just as scary to break it to my wife.
Say,
by the way,
it's like one of these things, Boris. I mean, you get the call, and it's a compliment. You're flattered. You're excited. It's recognition, and then the reality sets in. Wait a second. I'm going to a war-torn country here. There's real danger. So it's
war territory.
It's a dichotomy because years ago I was approached to be part of a group that was going to let's just say a danger zone, and I started freaking out. But I'm a different kind of Jew. I'm not a Russian Jew. You guys are tough. You guys are tough. I'm a neurotic North American Jew. And everything is discussed with my analyst first, my therapist, my psychiatrist. So I went to him and I'm like, this is scaring the shit out of me. It's a great compliment that I've been invited, but I don't want. You hear all these stories, and I don't want to be involved in some an innocent bystander in some military rape case or something like that. Because that's the way my mind works, right? It's catastrophic thinking. I know. I'm not trying to, but you don't have that neurotic gene, but nevertheless, you're scared. You're scared, right?
Who wouldn't be? Because, well, first of all, when I got a phone call, which was kind of interesting, there were a few celebrities that kept coming in and dropping out, depending on availabilities, or who, just like you, may not have wanted to go to war territory.
There were some big names that dropped out of that particular campaign.
Well, there's quite a few. George Foreman.
Yeah.
Well, the show's based in Houston, and it's an international effort, so it wasn't just Canadian American.
Right.
It covered all sorts. It was funny, me being a Canadian arriving in Afghanistan at one of the bases where there's thousands of people, and they're telling me, oh, there's only 13 Canadians on this one. So it's kind of nice, but still, the Canadian flag is still there. So
ultimately, what makes you decide I'm going? It's a great, it's an opportunity of my life. I'm going, and I'm going to do this. What makes you decide that? What's the deciding factor here?
Well, one thing I will tell you, I'm not afraid to die.
You're not afraid to die?
No. I'm more about living in the moment rather than being terrified of what could happen. And
right.
making a difference in other people's lives has always been part of what I do. At this point in time, almost 35 years.
With all due respect,
business.
Boris, there's a difference between dying on a comedy club stage and actually losing your life in a war
Right.
zone.
Well, that's just a possibility. It's not really something that you're faced with, because I'm not the guy going fighting. My job when I fly over is to improve morale. Right? Because it's a tough thing for them. And I'll tell you this. And,
yeah, but you know what they said to me? They said to me, when I was approached, they said to me, and I wasn't approached as a headliner, but I was approached to be part of the team. And they said to me, well, this is a peacekeeping mission. I said, this is not dangerous. They said, no, this is a peacekeeping mission. And I said to the guy, I don't know if you're watching the news, but this peacekeeping mission has turned into a bloodletting mission. We've lost more soldiers, since the Second World War. There was don't worry, we're protected. Canadian soldiers are protected. And then they said we would have to get training done. Did you get training done?
Oh, absolutely. We went through anti-terrorist training. One of the greatest little things, I had to get my blood tested because in case by remote chance I would get shot and need a transfusion, we have the type.
But that's the thing about you, Boris. I can see you totally no problem. You're Russian, for God's sake. It's in your blood.
It's not something that I'm after.
For me,
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Listen, that's what the legend says about you. I'm not going to lie to you. But for me, I took up some nunchucks. I had a jiu-jitsu lesson once, and I just, 3 seconds, gone myself in the head. I was at the emergency of Mount Sinai. You said you're a lover, not a fighter?
Absolutely.
I'm neither one. I'm just the guy that sits in the office of his psychiatrist and complains all day. But anyway, getting back to you, so the performance is an overwhelming success.
I'll put it to you in perspective, and that will probably bring it back to why we improve morale, and that's what literally hit it there for me. After the shows, each one of the people on the team gets to go into the audience. And by the way, it was a 7-hour ordeal, the first one that we went to, and the soldiers stood throughout the whole thing with weapons and gear and all of this stuff on them, which surprised me. But afterwards, we go and shake hands. Thanks for your service. You're doing a wonderful job. Appreciate for what you've done. I met a girl, and she basically told me her age and what she did. She was one of the people on stage, and I was a little bit more curious about what she did. She took a selfie with us at a cracked phone. But I got a chance to ask her. Her name was Ashley. Well, still is. She's now my Facebook friend. But ask her, what do you do? I'm a chaplain's assistant. All right. What does a chaplain's assistant do? My job is when somebody dies to deliver the news to the family.
To deliver the news to the family.
So that's when that hit me, why we were there. Once you've seen the lowest point, feels amazing. It becomes a thrill where you are able to bask in your own accomplishments because you got there yourself rather than somebody gave it to you.
Do you believe in God? Wow, did I just surprise you?
Yeah.
That's a little trick I learned as a host. You couldn't see that one coming, could you?
No, not at that point in time. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I truly believe that you make your own waves. Yes, sometimes you get lucky, but other times if you sit idle, you'll never get there.
Right, but how do you explain the guy that works far less talented, and succeeds?
They have people helping them. I never had anybody help me in that sense.
So do you believe in a higher power?
I do believe in a higher power. I believe in energy. I believe in positive attitude, I actually created a term which is a prophetic thinking.
Prophetic thinking.
Literally, you think of something way into the future that you want to achieve, and just by you concentrating your energy on that, it comes true.
But what if it's not aligned with the universe? What if it's not
Then you
aligned?
keep trying.
What if it's not aligned with God, the universe, energy, call it what you want? What if it's not aligned?
Then somebody else will take over way after you're gone.
No, in other words, the only reason you've succeeded is because your dream was aligned with the energy of the universe.
And perseverance and not taking
There's a
no
lot of
for an
people that
answer.
have persevered more than you, Boris, and they didn't succeed. What's the answer for that? I mean, take nothing away from your determination. There's somebody out there that's worked twice as hard, but he didn't succeed. Why?
I would assume the stars were not quite aligned, just like
Sorry?
you were saying. The stars may not have been quite aligned.
Like I was saying?
Just like you
Oh.
said. Yeah, no, I completely
Next witness,
agree.
Your Honor. Next witness, Your Honor. I got to stop there because my ego really needs that.
Yeah, no. There's nothing wrong with saying that I have not been right. Then you change your flow of events, and then you move in that direction.
Steve Couch, CFRB, former director of CFRB. I don't know if you know Steve. He says Ieden always gets the guest to contradict himself in an interview. And so, and he says every time I interview him, he says, "You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to get me to contradict myself." Hi, Steve. Good to see you. He watches the show all the time. Well, listen, this has been a lot of fun. I find myself now at an age, I don't know if you're like this, you start seeing people and you get so nostalgic, like the people that you cross paths with in the early days, and then you see them like 15, 20 years later. And what is that? Is that just like getting older, or is that just, what is that? Like, I was so happy that when you walked in, what I'm saying is when you walked in the studio here today, I was so happy to see you. It's been so long. And I remember you giving me that, that opportunity and that break years ago. And what is that though? Is that just maybe I'm turning into a mush ball or something?
No, to me, it's the more you're exposed, the more you learn. So the more people that I try to be a nice guy most times, where I would impart a little bit of my wisdom that I learned painstakingly, literally by smashing my head against the wall at times.
I'm trying to, you're rejecting the compliment totally. That's how I know you're truly Jewish. Yeah, that's how I know you're truly Jewish. I just tried two times to give this guy a compliment. You saw it 2 times, It's so nice to see you, Boris. I'm so happy when you walk in the studio. I could have just picked you up and thrown you over my shoulder, giving you a big bear hug. And I'm waiting for you. Hey, Ieden, it was kind of nice to see you, too. It was kind of nice to see you.
I love people. I just sometimes have a little bit of trouble taking that compliment. It's one of my little faults.
No, you got many strengths to make up for that. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you again.
Same here.
I wish you, health and happiness and continued success, but good health above everything. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been witnessing myself and the Incredible Boris bantering here on Groundbreakers. Everybody knows the Incredible Boris, an international success story now, but started a homegrown guy right here in Toronto. Anything, do you have a website you want to tell the audience before we go?
Yeah, the website is still, if people remember, comedywood.com. If you want to find it a different way, incredibleboris.com. But Comedywood, people associated me with that name. I kept it.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. We're painfully out of time here. Thanks for watching Groundbreakers. We'll see you next time, same channel. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.